It's a fish. You done turned to a queen. It's a fish. Oh. Shining bright. Don't let them go and dim your light. Been a sunflower all your life. All your life. It's all up to you. You know you're the truth. You a true definition of a queen. Definition of queen.
What's up, sunflowers? It's your girl Official Queen K, and I'm back with another video. Today is story time. We will be talking about the depression I went through, suicidal thoughts, insecurities, dealing with college, and following my parents' dreams instead of mine, and how that all built up into who I am today and what I'm currently dealing with. Okay, so we about to get started with this video. So growing up, I didn't have the worst childhood, but as a child, it wasn't the best either. When I was 4 years old, I met my dad, and I ended up living with him super fast. Even though I met him at my birthday party, and I told him I wanted to live with him, basically. And I went to go live with him, like right then and there. And, you know, that plays a part of why I feel the way I feel growing up. Because when I was younger, I felt like, you know, my mom didn't want me. She kept all my other siblings, and she just shipped me off to a man I barely even knew at 4 years old. Which I don't blame nobody for. It was a good decision. But, you know, as time go by, I was living with my dad. I go to my mama's during, like, Christmas break, whatever school breaks, and the weekend. The beginning of my 8th grade year, it was some confusion, complications in my dad's household. So I went to go live with my mom and finish the rest of my 8th grade year. I went to go move with my mom, and y'all, that's when shit got real. Because my mom, she was living good, but it wasn't like the perfect home. You know, sometimes we'll go without lights. Sometimes we'll have noodles or bologna sandwiches or hot dogs for dinner, you know. Don't know kid, at a young age, a kid is going to be confused. Definitely when the lights are off or when you don't have hot water. Because it's like, you're not used to it. It was a change up for me because at my dad's house, he was very structured. So, yeah, I moved with my mom my 8th grade year. And, you know, it was cool at first, but I just wasn't used to sharing a room with all my siblings because she was living in a 2-bedroom apartment at the time. So, then I went to high school, and that's when depression hit me very hard. But at the time, I didn't know I was depressed. I just thought, I'm a teen, you know, maybe this is what teens feel like. In high school, sports was the only thing. It was like a getaway for me. I was always busy, literally all year round. I did track, cross country, and I played basketball. So I always made sure I stayed busy and just stayed in school, to be honest, like to keep me busy, to keep my mind off the things that was going on at home. It was times when we got evicted. We went, my stepdad, he's my stepdad, but him and my mom got a divorce. But he still played a big role in my life. He still took care of us. And that's when we moved with him. It was on 55th Street. You know, he used to, don't get me wrong, I love my stepdaddy. But it was times where he was just too much to deal with. It was a time when me and my siblings went to go live with my stepdad, and my mom, she was in Missouri, you know, trying to get her life together, get a job. It was a time where he used to lock up food while he was at work. So when we get out of school, we really wouldn't have nothing to eat besides like cereal and stuff. I decided to make some cookies one night, and I just made some cookies. My older sister, she was living there as well, her boyfriend. And that next morning, my stepdad didn't like that. And he had actually put his hands on me. I can't remember. I think he slapped me. I can't remember. It was in the bathroom, but my sister was there to help me. And ever since then, it was just like, I always feel like my mom really didn't care for me because she was never really around. And growing up, me and my mama, we never really got along. And then at the time, me and my daddy wasn't talking. Yeah, time go by. And then, you know, my coaches, they realized, it was my head coach to the basketball team. And he was like, you don't seem as bubbly as you used to. And I'm just like, okay, whatever that's supposed to mean. So I just kept going on with my days, to be honest. But it's like I always carried the weight on my shoulders from like family problems and just growing up as a teenager. Definitely as a female teenager whose mom isn't really around or whose dad really wasn't around. So that's when I decided to move out. I think I was like 15, 16. And I moved out. I went to go live with my best friend at the time. She was also my teammate. And, you know, it was cool there. I appreciate her mama. It was just like, I just feel like I don't want to feel like I'm intruding into someone's house. I didn't really feel welcome at times, you know. And it was just, sometimes I would get jealous because I'm like, dang, she get along real well with her mom. So then I moved to another teammate's house. She's a friend of mine. And her mama, she treated me very well. She made sure I was fed. She treated me just like the rest of her daughters, to be honest. And I really appreciate her. And this other girl, Imani, her mama. Imani and Jasmine's mama was really there for me a lot when I was in high school. Most of the time up to my senior year. But it was my junior year, actually, when my mom had moved back to Kansas. I went to go move with her again, and things really wasn't going well. It was too much. You know, my mama had went to jail for domestic violence. Her and her boyfriend at the time's relationship was very toxic. And at that age, as a female, it was a lot to see in. And, you know, my stepdad, then my cousins moved in because they lost their house. So it was a lot of people. So I would just go to school at that time. By the time my junior year, I would go to work. And then I would just go home and go straight to my room. I wouldn't even eat dinner with anybody. I wouldn't talk to nobody. I didn't even feel like I was noticed in the house. So that was my everyday routine. School, practice, work till 12 at night. I was working at the movie theater. And then I just went straight to my room. After that, I think I went back to Jasmine's house. I went to go live with Jasmine and her mom again. And, you know, that's just how my life was. My life really changed when it was the summertime. July 2000. Dang, wait here. I'm getting old. July 2015. Yeah, because it was a year before I graduated high school. I just couldn't take it no more. Like, it was a lot going on. I was in a very toxic relationship at that time. And it was just one day I took some pills. They weren't prescribed to me. And I just took them. And then when I started I was feeling sick afterwards. And so I told my mom, I was like, Mama, I don't feel good. I took a lot of pills. And she kept asking me, like, Kristen, what pills? I didn't know what they said on there. It was just a big word, and it said Misty Roberts. So she took me to the hospital, and around that time, that night, my daddy, he actually came to the hospital. He was there for me. That's when my daddy came back into my life, and he was there for me. I was on suicide watch for the 24 hours. And I also had to go to an input hospital where I had to stay for like 7 days or something. With no phone, no technology, no social media, nothing. And if I didn't eat the food, it would add a day on to you being in that hospital because they would think something's wrong with you. And you know, at the time, at that age, I was like 16. I really wasn't taking it serious, you know, with the input hospital because I'm like, okay, I'm just ready to go home. I'm ready to get out. So, and another reason, y'all, this was high school, but like, the more I go, it's gonna get more detailed. So, the reason of me doing that, now that I remember, at that time, I didn't feel wanted by my parents. Like, they never, if I go out, my mama, she wouldn't call me, she wouldn't check up on me. And I was like, dang, if it was my sister or my brother, she'd be on their hips, like, where you at, what you doing, whatever. And me and my mama, we never really got along when I was younger. So, because it was like, definitely my mom, because she, like, I never really had a good relationship with her. I couldn't talk to her about nothing. We would just argue all the time. So, yeah, I went through that. Then it was my senior year. I was still like overthinking, suicidal sometimes. I never could get a hold of a razor when I was young. But I took a knife and I was cutting my arm when I was in high school. So, yeah, and I always had diaries that I wrote suicidal thoughts in and stuff. And my friend Jasmine, her uncle, actually, he was a part of my growth too, because I don't know how he knew about him. But it was one day where he had me, Jasmine, Janae, which is Jasmine's sister, and I believe Mariah. And we took the journals and we burnt them. And we burnt stuff that wasn't, really good for us. And so, yeah, senior year went by. Then I went off to college. And when it comes to college, y'all, my goal was to go to the military. I wanted to be in the Marines. But, I kept failing the test. So I just said, forget it, I'm just go to college. So I went to college, and I never wanted to go to college. It wasn't my dream. I always told people I wanted to be a lawyer or something. It was one day. I know when I was younger, I also said I wanted to be a surgeon. I lied because I don't even like blood. I don't even like the doctors. So, but that was never my goal. I just knew like that's what my family wanted to hear. And I always hated being smart and going to school sometimes because it was two of my siblings on my mama's side that I would say, oh, you think you better than us because you in school or you finish in school. Where you get A's. And I'm just like, okay. So that played a part of me distancing myself when I was in high school as well. And because it's just like, I wanted better. I wanted better for myself. I seen how my family was living paycheck to paycheck, and, like, not living right or going to jail. Like, I do not belong in jail at all. So, yeah, I went off to college. And, my first year in college, I did what every college student does. They turn up. And I always told myself I would never smoke or drink. And what I do? Smoke and drink. So, my first year of college, it was kind of rough. Like, I never went to class. I passed gym my freshman year. And I ended my freshman year with a 1.8. I actually attempted suicide my freshman year of college. And at the time, my roommate was this girl, Tiana. She was my best friend at the time. And, yeah, that happened. But it got to a point where I was kind of embarrassed about, like, having to deal with depression or not feeling good enough. So I tried to be like everybody else when I got to college. And that wasn't like me. So that happened. And not only that, but freshman year, I lost my best friend. Not like lose as in pass away, but we stopped becoming friends because of the situation. And that kind of played a part of when I just started acting full-fledged out. Like, I was acting up. I got into fights. I was drinking. I was always high. I was hanging out with different types of crowds that back then I probably wouldn't even would have hung out with. And then the summertime went by. I went to summer school to get my GPA back up because in order for me to run cross country, I would have to have a 2.0. And when I ended my freshman year, I had a 1.8. So I went to summer school, whatever. Then I went back home to my dad's. And I worked. He was on my tail all the time because of how I ended my freshman year and how his name on my FAFSA, all that, whatever. And how he was the one paying for school. So at the end of the summer, it was about time for me to go back to school. And, my parents wasn't trying to send me back to rest because I wasn't on my shit. Man, that summer I can say, though, I really found myself. I took time. I was involved with a boy. I took time to myself. And I was trying to find, like, who I really am, what I love to do, what I want to do in life. And around that time, that's when I found that I wanted to be a motivational speaker because, I have a story to tell, like a big story to tell that could probably help a lot of people. So, yeah. And then that's when I started to pray a lot more. This is when God come in. Like, I started to pray a lot more. Even when I went back to school for my sophomore year, I got baptized. I found the church and I got baptized. Okay, but back to the story. At the end of the year, my daddy wasn't trying to send me back to school because he felt like, well, if you're not going to be on your shit, then I'm not going to pay for it. And when I left high school, I've always wanted to get away from Kansas City. And that's probably why I don't have a lot of friends here now. Because I feel like people thought I was better than them because I left. Because, my sister and my brother used to tell me that. That I think I'm better than everybody because of school. My daddy wasn't trying to send me back. And while I was working at the time, too, I was always down. I was always trying to figure out, like, damn, how am I going to get my ass back to Rust? How am I going to pay for this? So, I just took a leap of faith and I didn't tell nobody. I just bought me a train ticket at the end of the summer. With my last check, it was $280 on my last check. But the ticket for the train was like $220. But I originally bought a bus ticket, but I missed the bus. I didn't have a ride. But I bought a train ticket. And I left out one morning. I packed up all my stuff. I didn't tell nobody I was leaving. So I just packed all my stuff. I went all the way down the street to a neighbor's house and asked them if they could take me to the train station. Y'all, that was the toughest thing because after that, it was like I was on my own. I wasn't talking to my mama. I wasn't talking to my daddy because I was mad because Charlie. So, yeah, I was really heartbroken because I'm like, damn, I'm really about to be on my own. And I was only like, what was I, 19, 18 going on 19, somewhere around there. And I went to school. Like, I had to figure a lot of stuff out on my own. I had to find my mama's old papers to use on my FAFSA. And I got it done. It is what it is. And that also, me having to do everything on my own. At the end of my freshman year, trying to go back to school and stuff, it was like, I don't know, I just felt like it was the end of the world because I felt like I didn't have nobody. So then it was sophomore year. And I met my boyfriend that I'm currently with now at the end of that year around November. But my friends, Danny and Bree, they was always there to like help me. Their family was helpful as well. I spent holidays at Bree's house. That Christmas, I did go back home. I went to my mama's because, my mama, she gonna find a way to talk to me and get on my nerves. So, yeah, that school year kind of went by. I was still dealing with depression. But I always kept things in because I'm like, I don't want to bother nobody with it. I'm cool. So that summer, after my sophomore year, I did an intern. I missed a part. My grandma had passed away. that February of my sophomore year. And that's when things got rough within my mama's side of the family. Because everybody started doing drugs, you know, and then my mama got homeless. My nephew and my niece, they really wasn't in the right place. And my brother went to jail. He actually went to jail my senior year of high school. And he just got out this past year. And he only 19 now. Yeah, my grandma had passed away. And my grandma, that was my backbone. That was my, you know, that was my home. And, you know, God has, he really been there for me a lot of times. Like getting back to school and just being there with me and getting me through situations and finding me shelter, you know. And financially helping me while I was in school. So, yeah, my grandma, she passed away. That was really hard for me because, you know, my grandma, growing up, my grandma, she's the one that found my dad. If it wasn't for her, I wouldn't have known my dad. My junior year. No, the summer after my sophomore year. I went on the intern, and by this time I got my GPA up to about a 2 point something, you know. It ain't all that, but it was up there, enough for me to breathe, okay? 2018, I went to my internship, and it was based on God. It was through a Methodist church, and I was getting to know God. But it was really hard for me that year, although I met my boyfriend. It's like the closer I got to God, the more people I would lose, or the more stuff would shake in my life. So I'm like, okay. Because I got baptized that year too. And so I'm like, okay, I don't like this. Because, you know, it was just friends leaving. You know, I wasn't talking to my dad at the time. And so, okay. I went to the internship, and, you know, it was cool. It was nice. I was working with kids who were in a poverty area, so I feel like I could connect with them. And, you know, that's like, I like talking to people. I like connecting with people. I like giving advice. I like telling people my story to hopefully help them. And it was nice. I just really, it's like I wasn't trying to connect with it. Like I wasn't trying to get personal or get the whole point of the internship. So it's just like I was just there, basically. So after my internship, I went to my mama's house or whatever. And my boyfriend, he went back to his hometown, which is Memphis. And, you know, I'm from Kansas City, so I went back home, he went home. And when we, like, split up or whatever, went to our hometowns, it was like shit was getting rocky for our relationship. Like, we was acting out of character on my part and on his part. And so I'm like, damn, bro, I'm about to lose the only person I have in my life. But it didn't, you know, we're going on 3 years. Me and my boyfriend, we've been through a lot of shit. Most definitely. Like, from fighting. And, don't get me wrong, the fighting was mostly my fault because, you know, I threw the first punch. Disrespecting our relationship and stuff. Just acting out. So, junior year come, and it's like, our relationship, it was just getting very toxic. So we would take breaks. And, you know, it'll be outside females, you know, running their mouth, whatever the case may be. Putting their input, trying to throw themselves. They be trying to be your friends, but throw themselves at your man. And, you know, I ain't throwing shade. But, you know, my ass, I was a little hot-headed my junior year and the beginning of my senior year. So, junior year came, I was very depressed. I was never happy. Then I was upset because I was gaining weight. And I'm gonna show y'all a picture. I never been this big before in my life. I was always small. I don't know if I had an eating disorder in high school or my freshman year, but I was so fucking small. And then I wasn't going to class again. After all that work I put in to get my GPA up, y'all, I did not go back to class. I wasn't going to class. I wasn't focused on that shit. It was first semester sometime. I tried to commit suicide again. And I took my roommate at the time, and I took some medicine of hers. And that shit, I took hella medicine. That day changed my life a lot, because that night when I went to the hospital, my roommate actually found me. And then my other friend, Mila, she took me to the hospital. I thought I was about to lose my life that day. But God spared me. God gave me that one. Like, he watched out for me for real. I passed out. And then I woke up. I was woozy. Like, I was real woozy. And then when they put the IV in me, it's like my life flashed before my eyes. Yeah, I thought I was dead. I thought I was about to die. Because when the doctor had put that IV, I never had an IV in my hand before. Because they always say, oh, you got good veins. So they always put the IV in my arm. But this doctor, he put the IV in my hand. And I was so dehydrated. It's like I stopped breathing. And I was about to be gone. But God had me that night. I was under 24-hour surveillance watch. I think I was in that hospital for like a good 3-4 days. Because I think they wanted to make sure that they didn't put my stomach. But I think they wanted to make sure that, like, I wasn't poisoned or something, or just to watch over me. And I hated it, y'all. I never in my life took a shower at a hospital. Like an ER. I never took a shower there. Y'all, God worked in some crazy ways. Around that time, I was also working on getting a place. I started working and whatnot. And I got a place. The day I got out the hospital, I got my own place to live in. So I moved off campus. I put my down payment on my place. I got the keys that same day. I signed my lease, everything. And that day was also like the best day of my life, because I had my first place, like my own first place. I was getting help, you know. The school was actually paying for my counseling. And the good thing about Russ was they were not telling my business. Besides this one person, but you know. Well, it's not a person, it's a professor. Or whatever she want to claim herself to be. But she messy. Yeah, I moved off campus. You know, shit was going good. Had my own place for damn near that whole year up until November 2019. I can say 2019, I was very bitter. I was angry. I was holding grudges. And, you know, they had put me on medication for, it was antidepressants. That's when I found out I had major depressive disorder and anxiety. And y'all, I don't see how it took them years to just now tell me that, oh, you got major depressive disorder. But I guess it's however the system worked. It was still like I stopped praying. It's like I gave up on a lot of shit. Even when I got my house, I stopped going to class. Definitely when me and my boyfriend get into it. Because the school I go to, it's like a small HBCU. It's a private HBCU. So, it was just real dark. I didn't want to be around nobody. I really didn't want to hang with nobody. My house was like a little sacred spot where I could just hide from the world. You know, I started waking up late for work. It was times where my boss threatened me that I would get fired if I don't start coming to work on time. And y'all, I still do not go to work on time. I just kept working my ass off and kept telling my work some days that he need me to work. So I was working my ass off and saying fuck school. So then November 2019 came. This was senior year by November 2019. Yeah, so I'm a second year senior. Make sure you do your work if you go to college your first year and stay on your shit, okay? November 2009, October, me and my boyfriend got into it. We broke up. And that shit, I was in a very dark place around that time. October and November. And, you know, I thought we was done good for good because, you know, it was the longest we was apart for 2 months. We broke up because I don't know. I was just always angry and bitter, and I would always want to fight. I wasn't eating. I wanted to get away. I wanted to run away and never come back. Like, I just wanted to disappear. No, I really didn't have no friends. I ain't really had nobody to talk to, because one of my friends, you know, she was finished with school, and her and her boyfriend left. They moved. I wasn't answering no phone calls. I wasn't calling nobody. And around this time, me and my daddy was talking again, actually. Me and my daddy started talking, I think, like, in my junior year sometime. Yeah, I went to Holly Springs by myself. So, I didn't have nobody. I always felt like people at the school was always judging me. Or even if I wanted to get my life back right with God, that they were going to judge me and be like, oh, all of a sudden she was at the club last night, now she trying to act holy. And it's like our generation is just so judgmental. And it's like, even if you wanted to get your life right, it's still people talking. But then again, at the same time, people gonna always talk, so you just gotta block it out. But I really didn't have nobody. I didn't have no friends. I wasn't feeling myself. I was very insecure because of how much weight I've gained. And this is worse than what I was, actually. So I stopped eating. I stopped answering people's calls. I was just at work. And there'd be times where I just call into work, or I just make up an excuse. And I wouldn't show up. I started smoking blacks, you know. I just feel like everybody around me knew what was going on with me and was just judging me. And then November came, and you know, some shit happened between me and my boyfriend. Again, like, we wasn't together, but I wouldn't do nothing to disrespect him, and you know, I was expecting the same shit back. So then, you know, December went by. January, me and my boyfriend got back together. But in November, after that situation with me and my boyfriend, this time, y'all, I did not try to commit suicide. From work, I called the Input Hospital and I checked myself in. I was there for about 5 days. And, you know, they put me back on medication. And, y'all, I didn't like taking the medication, so I rarely took it because it made me feel like you give a child with ADHD some medicine, and it's like you're a zombie. So you're really not you. You're just somebody on the medicine. And that's how I felt. So I just stopped taking it. And so actually here in a few weeks, it'll be a year that I haven't been suicidal or depressed. I've been fully focused on my goals. Trying to start up a boutique. Trying to get finished with school, y'all. 4 classes away of being finished. Then I'm out there. Yeah, that's basically my testimony. But I just want to touch base on some things. Like, how I'm feeling now, I'm very much in a brighter place, but I'm not at the light, you know. I'm very happy, well, I'm much more happy with myself. And although I'm a little bigger now, I'm happy with how I look. I love the skin that I'm in. And I'm trying to get back to who I really am deep down inside. I'm trying to rebuild my relationship with God again. Oftentimes it's hard. And I haven't been depressed or suicidal recently or this year that I could think of. But I have been in positions where my anger got out of hand. I just, you know, sometimes you just get tired of life when you gotta grow up early and take care of yourself. Which is not an excuse. I take full responsibility for everything I've done in my life. And people often ask me, do I regret what I've been through? And I don't regret none of it because it's a testimony. It could help someone else. And also because it's going to build me into the woman that I need to be. And I'm going to learn a lot. I'm going to already know things because of what I've been through. Or know how to handle situations because of what I've been through. My goals now are just to build a relationship with God, finish school, You know, I'm actually thinking about going to get my master's after school. You know, yeah, I hate school. But I want to get my master's in business administration and hopefully a PhD, depending on how I'm feeling after a master's degree. Okay. So, because I want my own boutique. I want a retail store. I already have the name copyrighted. I have my EIN number. I got to work on the LLC. But, you know, it was times when I turned my back on God because I felt like ain't no way that I'm the only one. I feel like I was the only one going through stuff since I was younger. Like, it's like it was a constant cycle. And then thinking that I'm not wanted by my parents. But you gotta understand, y'all, a doctor told me this. You can love your parents, but also distance yourself from your parents. So that's why I did a lot of times, just to figure out who I am and what type of person I want to be. And still to this day, I try to please my parents and, you know, hold the weight of my family on my shoulders. But I gotta understand that everybody's grown now, so that's up to them. I'm not being selfish, it's just I am being selfish for myself because I can't take that weight no more. I'm not going to sit here and continue to put myself in a dark place or go through the same cycles when half the time it's not even my problems. So I just gotta make me happy. Although, like, if I would have known now what I wanted to do, known back then what I wanted to do, what I know now, I probably would have dropped out of school and just got on with the get down. But since I'm 4 classes away to being done with college, I might as well finish it. So, yeah, I've turned my back on God a lot of times. It's just, I didn't understand a lot of things that I understand now. It was times when, definitely when I was close to God, I feel like my purpose is to be a motivational speaker, because there was a point in time when I was close to God and I was going to church. I was looking at a school for my master's program at a, dang, what's those schools called? Where you study the Bible and stuff. I was trying to become, not a pastor, but like someone that's a speaker, but not a pastor. So I don't know if that's my purpose in life. I don't know if opening a boutique is my purpose in life. I'm just going with what God wants me to do. And I'm going to try to rebuild that relationship back with him. I be so contemplating on, like, I'm picky when it comes to churches, because I feel like I'd rather be spiritual than religious, because the religious people I've come across are very judgmental. Like, I don't know. I just don't like when people hold me to a certain, you know, and I don't reach it, and then I'm gonna sit here and think about it, you know. I don't know. Religion feels like a cult to me, but spiritual, I could feel like myself and still be me, just becoming a better me. Not in a cult. So I'm very picky about, I want to look for a church. I'm very picky, which is not an excuse. So, yes, sunflowers. Y'all just got to know the real me and what type of background I came from. So I know the story was a little bit everywhere, but it's just some stuff we just try to block out. If you aren't already, make sure that you subscribe to my channel, and don't forget to like and comment and share this video to one of your friends. Okay? See y'all later, sunflowers.